let's go ahead and start on the diamond. What do we got? DraftKings contributors, Garion Thorne here, Steve Buchanan, RotoWire's Erik Halterman, all here to cover the bases. First base, who's your favorite DFS play on this short 3-game main slate tonight, Steven? Pitcher or hitter?
Yeah, I hate the scheduling when it's like the 3 games on a Thursday night. That's
terrible.
Simply,
what are we doing here, man?
Right. But you know what? Let's just be happy. A month and a half ago, we thought we weren't even going to have a sport. With that being said, Michael Brantley going against Glenn Otto tonight. I think this is a really solid spot for Brantley, who's been on one lately at the plate. You look at the numbers for Glenn Otto throughout his career, which only spans, about a year and a few months here, against lefties, 4.18 FIP, a 4.06 WOBA. This has really been a tough spot for Glenn Otto going against the Astros, who, aside from that start against Nick Pivetta, have been hitting very, very well. When you hit 5 home runs in an inning, I think your team is locked in, or maybe that's more about Nathan Eovaldi just can't keep the ball in the park. With that being said, yeah, that was brutal. With that being said, Brantley at 4K tonight is in a really solid spot. Slim pickings tonight. Brantley's one of your guys in the outfield.
Congratulations about the Mariners being in town too. I'm sure you'll be camped out at Fenway for the next 4 days.
Can't wait, baby. Can't wait.
All right, Gary Bear, talk to me here, dude.
I basically had a note written down that was, if Steve talks about Zac Gallen, pivot to left-handed Astros batters. If he talks about left-handed Astros batters, you get to talk about Zac Gallen. Look, I'm not going to come in here and paint a picture of some beautiful world where Zac Gallen, nice pivot play tonight. He's going to be 65% owned on this slate. But the fact of the matter is there's only 6 starting pitchers. You got to choose 2 of them. So I'm not that worried about eating the chalk here with Gallen, who's in a fantastic matchup against the Cubs. They have been hitting slightly better as of late. I think the Pittsburgh Pirates pitching staff is probably a big reason for that. Zac Gallen is much better than the collection of arms they have faced the last 3 days. And for the season, or for the month of May as a whole, Chicago has the lowest WRC plus of any team in the National League. They also have the second highest strikeout rate, up over 27%. Gallen's got a 1.87 expected ERA, 7 strikeout to walk ratio so far this season, 27% strikeout rate. He's doing everything you could possibly ask. He's one of the best pitchers in the National League when he's healthy, and he's healthy. So just use Zac Gallen.
All right, Erik, who's your favorite DFS play tonight? 3-game main slate.
I like Julio Rodriguez at just 3,300. As long as he's sitting in this range, I think I'm going to keep going back there pretty frequently. Huge talent, came in with tons of hype, the kind of hype that we'd normally attach to somebody who would sit, close to 5,000 in these contests. His season numbers still aren't very good because he was terrible in his first 12 games, in part because he seemed to be getting screwed by umpires at historical rate. Some of the studies showing how many called third strikes that were called incorrectly on him, he was halfway to the season record after a couple of weeks or something like that. He had a 367 OPS and a strikeout rate north of 45 first 12 games. In his last 25, though, he's got that OPS up to 816, striking out 25% of the time, which is a little high, but completely fine. He also has 11 steals on the season, so he's contributing even when he doesn't hit. He'll get the platoon advantage against Rich Hill, drafted out of college when Rodriguez was 1.5 years old. Has an ERA under 3 this season, but isn't really supporting that. I'm going to stick with Rodriguez at least until he gets up over 4,000. I think he's a guy you have to look at almost every night.
Let's go to second base here. Let's go to the DK Sportsbook. Hook me up with a bet that you like for the early games.
Yeah, I'm going to look at a player prop. Cal Quantrill's strikeout prop seems a little out of whack. It's up at 4.5. Quantrill's only struck out 5 more batters in a start this season once in his 6 outings. It just seems a little off. You do have to pay some juice on this. I understand that, but Quantrill's just not a strikeout pitcher. I mean, you look at the 108 pitchers who have thrown at least 30 innings so far this season, his 14% strikeout rate ranks 103rd in that group. The Reds, to their credit, have also been a different offense the past couple of weeks. I mean, this was a team that struck out in over 25% of their plate appearances in the month of April. The past 2 weeks, their strikeout rate as a team is down to 22.2%. So with the trends and with the fact that, again, Quantrill's just not a guy with a huge strikeout pitch, I think we go under 4.5 strikeouts today.
Bukes, what's your bet for the early games? 5 of them to choose from, which is 2 more than the late.
Yeah, boy, at what I was trying to sit here and quiz myself on what number would I actually take the under on the White Sox and Royals game, because the over under in that one is set at 9.5. Talk about two guys that absolutely stink taking the mound this afternoon. Vincent Velasquez, Mr. I've just been getting by the skin of my teeth, finally gets exposed against the Yankees of all teams, because of course they do. Last time out, 7 runs on 8 hits through just 5 innings. And you have Carlos Hernandez, who faced the Rockies at Coors Field and the Orioles in those 2 starts. He's given up 15 runs in those ones. Now he's facing the White Sox, who are vastly underperforming. Their advanced stats, like their expected batting average to their actual batting average, is almost like a 30-point difference at this point. Yet they're one of the top teams in hard hit rate. So that says everything you need to know about how those bats have been performing. But 9.5 runs in this game. Give me the over in that one. I would not be surprised if this game hits this total early. Even in the first 5 innings, you can get over 4 runs. I'll take that too as well. These are 2 starting pitchers who are not going to go deep in this game, give up a ton of production. So give me over 9.5 runs with a bonus over 4.5 runs through the first 5.
Look at that. Erik, do you have a bonus bet for us for the early slate?
I have a bonus that I'll give you the one that I almost liked, which was Royals plus 125 in that game Steve was just talking about, because man, plus money against Vince Velasquez is appealing. But then I saw Hernandez's ERA starts with a 9. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was a 9.11. So I don't think I can do that one with any confidence. What I do like, though, is Phillies Padres to go over 8 runs. It's a minus 105. Yu Darvish on the Padres side might be done, or at least done as a frontline starter. He never had a strikeout rate below 27% in his major league career, but it's below 20% this season. All he's really doing is avoiding walks at this point, and it's led to a 4.62 ERA. Just gave up 5 runs on 9 hits against Atlanta. Then Kyle Gibson on the other side. We know who Kyle Gibson is at this point. He's a fine major league starter, but not much more than that. 4.10 ERA. Keeps the ball on the ground. That's about all he does. Strikeout rate under 20% for him as well. So I think we're going to see some runs in Citizens Bank Park here.
All right, third base, the hot corner. Steve, you're hot. Favorite player prop in tonight's 3 games?
Wow, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's the 3rd time someone has said that to me today.
Is that true? Wow.
Yep. Me in my basement. Dalton Varsho to go over 1.5 bases tonight against Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman has had a horrific start to his Cubs career thus far. And one of the biggest things about Stroman is that he keeps the ball on the ground. And while he has been doing that well, as usual, 45% of the time, fly ball rate has been up over 8% so far this season. And Varsho, for his credit, has been really hitting righties very well. And in those scenarios, hitting for a ton of power, 234 isolated power in that scenario of the 24 hits that he has against righties, 5 doubles and 6 home runs. So he's been clearing that over 1.5 bases mark often when he's been getting hits against in these type of matchups. So give me him over 1.5 bases at minus 105. Should be hitting leadoff for the Diamondbacks tonight.
All right, Gare Bear.
I'm just going to continue my pessimism for the strikeout artistry of some of the pitchers on today's slate. Framber Valdez under 5.5 strikeouts. I know he's gone over this number in his past 2 starts. I think those have been particularly special circumstances against very weak teams. Framber is not a strikeout pitcher. This number should be 4.5. It's weird that it's not. This is someone who has a not even middle of the road strikeout rate. If you look into the deep numbers, he is only 28th percentile in his strikeout rate so far this season. He is 16th percentile in his chase rate among qualified pitchers. He just doesn't generate that many swings and misses. And Texas doesn't really have that large a strike rate against left-handed pitching so far this season, just 21.7%. They swing often and early. Texas's swing rate is up over 50% in the month of May. They just don't really work deep counts. And that is something Framber is more than willing to do. He's a ground ball specialist. I just don't think he gets anywhere close to 6 strikeouts in this game. So I will take another under.
Erik, hook me up with your favorite player prop on the main slate tonight.
Yeah, I like the directions both of those two were going in. I'm going to stick closer to Steve's here. Talk about Alek Thomas. I like you can get him to homer at plus 600. You can get him just to have a hit at minus 195. Same reason, don't trust what Marcus Stroman's doing these days. And Alek Thomas came up with plenty of hype, and he's delivering so far, hitting 315 with 905 OPS through his first 11 games. Pretty good strikeout rate as well. 16.7% strikeout rate means he's making plenty of contact, should have plenty of opportunities to get a hit. So I like him and really a lot of the Diamondbacks here against Stroman.
All right, easy. Take us home here, dude. Which run total are you targeting in the 3 games tonight?
Yeah, let's go with the Seattle-Boston game to go over 8.5 runs. Fenway Park is the second most hitter-friendly venue, according to StatCast's 3-year park factors, only Coors Field in terms of total numbers of runs scored. The 2 pitchers, George Kirby on the Mariners side, definitely an exciting prospect. I like him for season-long leagues, and he could well have a good night here. Had a 30% strikeout rate against just a 4.4 walk rate in the minors, so there's a lot to like. But I wouldn't trust him to have immediate consistent success, as he's shown. I mean, he had 6 shutout innings in his debut against the Rays, followed that up with just a 4-inning appearance with 1 strikeout in his second start. He could well go off here, but I'm not a rookie to be consistently strong. On the other side, I already talked about Rich Hill. Doesn't really offer that much. I mean, he's 42, so good for him for offering anything at all. But that 2.89 ERA isn't sustainable. Most of the ERA estimators are in the low 4s. Doesn't really strike guys out or keep the ball on the ground. So I think we'll get at least 9 runs here tonight.
Okay, Steve, you want to target your ballpark there?
I was thinking about it, but let's go a little different here. Not many games to choose from with 3, right? And the team that I'm targeting involves a team that's only hit the over 4 times this month. Talking about the Houston Astros, they have been an under machine, but tonight's matchup against the Rangers, who have been one of the better teams at hitting the over, which is not something you can say about most teams in Major League Baseball, but I like the over 8 runs in this one. I do like the matchup, as we mentioned earlier, going up against Glenn Otto. And then on the Houston side, we're talking about a pure contact pitcher, in Valdez. The Rangers can make plenty of contact. We know that. And Garion mentioned earlier, they don't strike a ton either. So 8 runs just feels like maybe a run too short here. So I'll take over 8 runs in this game, but it's going to be a scary one. Because like I mentioned, Houston cannot hit the over at all this season.
Unless they're hitting 5 home runs in an inning against Nathan Eovaldi.
Correct.
All right, Garion, help us out here.
So Steve mentioned the Astros are a team that don't hit the over very often. Another team that falls into that category, in fact, they've hit the under at the highest clip in the National League, is the Arizona Diamondbacks. And while I am a little bit worried about Marcus Stroman coming to the IL to make this start, I'm a little worried about the fact the wind is blowing out tonight at Wrigley, something you do always have to consider when you look at these over-under bets in Chicago. I think the combination of Zac Gallen going up against this Chicago offense, which again, lowest WRC plus of any National League team month of May. I think Gallen does enough here. He does his part to keep the Cubs off the scoreboard, or at least mostly off the scoreboard. And then Stroman, who, look, of the Chicago Cubs pitchers, I probably still trust more than most of them. At least he has some pedigree, track record, and his final 2 starts before going on the IL were actually his 2 best starts of the season. So there's a little bit of reason to be optimistic heading into that IL stint. I think there's enough there to keep this game under 8.5. It seems like a really big number for these 2 offenses.